Right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Welcome to BRIC's Pre-Apprenticeship Speaker Series, where we aim to give you an inside look at the various careers across entertainment, media, and tech with help from the industry pros themselves. I'm Sarah. I'm BRIC's Director of Communications and your moderator for this series. And today we're talking about experiential careers in entertainment. And we'll take a look at how immersive narrative storytelling can manifest as events, activations, pop-ups, and themed attractions that surprise and delight audiences everywhere. And today we're joined by our special guest, Austin Johnston here, who is the CEO and founder of AKJOHNSTON Group, one of the top event firms in the world, known for experiential activations and themed entertainment designs and builds. Before we dive in, I just want to remind everyone that we'll have a live Q&A during the last 15 minutes of the session. So make sure to use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions for Austin along the way. And with that, Austin, I'll turn over the presentation to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Sarah. Thanks for having me, BRIC. It's exciting just to kind of work with you guys. And I want to just encourage you to all ask questions. Nothing's too sensitive or touchy. You can ask weird questions too, because the work that we do is very, very weird. We're not going to have time to even go into half of the crazy, weird stuff that we've had happen on shows and the fun stories between. But we're going to talk really high level about how I started, I guess, why I started it, and talk to you guys about what might be helpful as you begin your career. Before we even do that, and don't read ahead too far on this one, but before we do that, I know we talked about apprenticeship and we talked about internships and that kind of thing. And I just want to encourage all of you to do something that I actually did not do early on in my career. And that is find people, not just one person, many people that are going to kind of mentor you into the world. Because even more helpful than a formal education or training on anything, it's about exposure, right? It's about jumping in. It's about taking those risks and asking those questions. And also, most importantly, prompting feedback, right? When you guys can prompt feedback, I think it's really important that you ask how you're doing, what you can do better, and don't let that feedback injure you. I promise you, all feedback is good feedback, even if it's from some maybe jerk person that might be mentoring you. There's a lot to learn out there. I promise you that. I've learned from the hardest things I've ever faced in my life, and I've messed up a lot of very expensive things before to learn. So I just encourage you all to attach yourself to somebody or somebodies and learn about more financing or more marketing or more artistry, right? And find those mentors that are really going to excite you and ignite different parts of your talent and different parts of your interest, right? So why the heck did I start this company 17 and a half years ago? Well, I was 21, so I thought I knew everything, right? In 2008, when the market was decimated, another crisis, right? But I wanted to refine physical production services, right? I thought that I was facing a world that had mostly like audio, lighting, and video things, but I thought I could do it better by actually scenically treating these kind of truss towers and lighting cables and being more considerate of what that is. But I always had a young passion for theme parks, thinking that film and TV was gonna be my realm. Theme parks was kind of my new passion. The reason why is singular, right? It's because you had agency as a person when you're stepping into a themed attraction, right? Now, what does that mean? In a themed attraction, you can look everywhere, right? Not just a screen here. It's about looking all around you, exploring as you want to, as you will. You could taste, touch, ask questions, look where you're not supposed to look, but it was all 360. And as we see more immersive experiences pop into the market, like walk-through attractions, like we just did the Beetlejuice walk-through attraction last year for the release of the film. You step into theme park rides. Maybe you guys go to Las Vegas and you're in the Sphere, right? These are all becoming much more sensory, right? You got smell, taste, touch, all that good stuff, as well as a 360 screen. Why do we humans respond well to that? Because you have agency. You're making choices, and the body makes you feel better about that because you get to choose what you're looking at, choose what to focus on. You can focus on what we call Easter eggs as well, too. When you go through a ride next time, guys, I want you to pay attention to all the Easter eggs that they might have put in there that nod back to a film or call back to a character subplot. But we love Easter eggs and how we tell stories at AK Johnston. That applies to our event work, it applies to our PR work, and it applies to our theme park development work as well, too. So going back again, sorry, I got ahead of myself there, but I want to approach a common industry, right? An industry we all knew, events, right? But with a proprietary angle, proprietary being key of how I would deliver that experience or product better by refining event production in unique ways, right? Now, I got to tell you, I started out with no money. I was less than broke. I had no investors, no lines of credit, no debt. no rich parents kind of deal, no nepotism in my family that I got inherited something, right? And I hacked it away. I got it out of public storage units, being the only employee doing every job, had 5 public storage units, and I turned that into a business by renting a larger space, a larger space, and a larger space. And now I got about 70 full-time people here in Southern California, an office in San Antonio, an office in Las Vegas, and an office in New York City. So we've grown quite a bit. It's very exciting. 2012, 2019 were the golden years. We got to really kind of shoot through the stars, growing our company along with a very growing industry, kind of the golden years of budgets and opportunities, right? But we had no idea at the time, right? So now we dialed it back to COVID. That was rough. We scaled our team back, restarted it as a full service agency because of this phrase, go fast, go alone. That's how I started the company, as my only business partner was me, no investors, right? But if you want to go far, guys, you're going to want to build a team. Find a like-minded, when I say like-minded, a group of people that all have differing talents, but you are the same mindset. You guys see the world kind of the same. You want to go after the same kind of clients, right? Maybe one's a story writer, maybe one is a copywriter, maybe one is a 3D renderer, one is an artist, a production artist, one of them is a technical person, right? But create this cool team, right? And that's going to make you guys go far, right? Now, we all know from doing group projects how terrible the group projects can be. So that's very dangerous. That's why the like-mindedness is important, right? But if you want to go far, build a team. And that is exactly what I did. And I'm learning every single day right now. I'm learning every day to build, embrace, to grow, to remove also, unfortunately, remove from that team to make sure that team dynamic is always staying intact, right? Now let's talk about the AI craziness going on, right, guys? Is there a future in this industry? Well, here's my position. And here's actually, let me pull aside for a second. I believe in 2 years' time that zines, magazines, episodic magazine content is going to be huge again. I believe that people want tactile touch. They want theme park rides that smell a certain way, that you can be experienced with, that you can be scared by somebody, that you can taste something, on the way out. You can buy a piece of merch that remembers it, right? I think that tactile entertainment is going to be the future of entertainment. I think it's either going to go very digital, very removed from tactile, or very tactile, right? Because people are going to crave that. I believe that humans, on a fundamental level, crave that tactile nature. So I think themed entertainment is not going anywhere. And I do know from current marketing studies that brands are connecting with consumers, not through over marketing. And you guys are the new consumer, by the way, the Gen Z, Gen Alphas of the group, which is the majority of our audience today. You guys are the new consumer and you want that rich brand story that you can step into, right? And that way it feels culturally relevant to your life. And that is important. That requires retail spaces to tell stories, events to connect with people in unique ways, and entertainment attractions, rides, and retail to feel that way where it's story driven, right? So we continue to evolve the next version of AK Johnston. And as the phrase goes, innovate or die. I think that was Steve Jobs that said that. He said, innovate or die, which is a pretty serious thing to say, but I believe it's very true. Excuse me, guys. I got a little sick after coming back from Brazil. Always very exciting to go to foreign countries, but unfortunately this travel has got me beat. So forgive me on the water taking in voice here. Anyway, fast forward today. We are where story meets experience. We're at the crossroads of stories and physical experiences, and that's what we do through different lenses, right? Lenses, like I said, were about theme parks. They're about conference rooms. They're about pop-up stores in the middle of nowhere, right? And now we have 86,000 square feet of theatrical space that we actually build stuff in and stage stuff in and send trucks out of. We've got artisans, we've got renderers, we've got conceptors, we've got accountants, we've got all the good, all the bad, all the boring, all the richly creative, and all the very dry business people. And that's what makes the company run. So if you guys are not part of the cool kids, maybe there's a cool kids crew, that's all the creators, right? Forget them. You're just as important, because if the company doesn't make money, there's no company, right? So I'll be honest with you. You guys are all important no matter where you want to jump in this process. Everything is very important. On an agency front, we are designers, we are strategists, we're project managers. We also handle permitting, engineering, all that nerdy stuff that you got to know about codes, and you got to know about, all those books of code books and inspection guides and all that good stuff. There's a lot to know, baby. To build for a theme park, I think that Disney has in about 2,000, maybe 3,000 pages of things we got to consider for safety standards and compliance standards and inspection standards, right? Because at the core of what we do, it's about safety, right? We talk about that with Coachella. We talk about audience safety, and we talk about it with theme park rides just the same, right? Very different conversation and subject matters, but it's the same exact purpose, right? To keep audiences safe. We also brand things and market them, and we also bind all that together with a rich network of logistics, right? That makes sense from human equity, right? That's our people that actually swing hammers and are loading in jobs, right? All the way down to trucks as well as warehousing as well too, because it all needs to, flow across the United States physically in some way. We do have a shop as well too. We build with millwork, metalwork, printworks, 3D printing, specialties with foam and fabrics and costumes. We even do full animatronics as well too. So we do a lot in-house. I also have a rental division. Rental division is that way we can rent back seating and plant life and little stage things. You know, everything that you see in a set is probably rented from a prop house or purchased and loaned to that set. Even mobile vehicles, we do all that in-house. I also started the company with this, but it actually is one of our smaller departments now. We're a lighting, audio, video, and staging company that has technical direction. So that's a wonderful add-on that illuminates these beautiful things that we actually fabricate. And then finally, we recap all that with media, with a really rich media suite that we have for motion graphics editing, for digital touchscreen applications that can lead to digital journeys that are in physical spaces, as well as content capture and, you know, reels from photo to video to billboard ads. If you guys drive on the 5 freeway and see a Hulu ad, that might be ours that we actually edited in our studio. So also digital media being a very big component. One thing that I think is very important to us and also clients moving up in the world is definitely sustainability as a built-in KPI, right? Finding things that are carbon neutral, carbon negative, right? That's very important. And right now we're trying to find like sheet good materials like plywood that's made out of grass in Sweden that's carbon negative because it's not actually made out of wood. So we have these really cool mindset here at AKJ that we're really kind of innovating and leading that charge to find materials that are as non-impactful in a bad way as possible. And also, guys, I would really implore that you ask your clients or ask whoever's tasking you the project of where everything's going to end up at the end of it. I know that we did this one wonderful series. It was just a very basic event. We had a ton of flowers. So we contacted Halle Berry's women's violence shelter in downtown Los Angeles. It was around Christmas time. We donated all these beautiful Christmas trees, about 40 grand in flowers. And that just brightened people's days rather than throwing floral product in the trash, right? So always think about that and be considerate of how your events and your shows and your productions and your shoots are going to impact the environment in a lot of ways, from material usage as well as end of life. Finally, we're an inclusive business. I don't care what's happening in the news right now, guys, but it's important that we have a diverse team because I believe that diversity in our team attracts the best and broadest thinking to connect with all audiences genuinely and with a culturally cognizant, mindset. So that's very important to us as well too. I want to bring all the freaking weirdos out, and I don't care where you guys are from. So I'm just really excited to work with like-minded weird people on our team. Going into the work, guys, I'm gonna breeze through this so dang fast, so forgive me, because I want to go into like kind of like the how the sausage is made after this. So I'm gonna show you guys a few different case studies of our recent. So we just talk about how experiences show up in public places, right? For Marvel Comic Con, we actually changed Marvel's lens from being more of a con type mindset where they have like a meet and greet, a stage, a costume gallery, and we created experiences, these micro experiences on trade show booth floors, right? Where you immerse yourself into an old comic book store to actually buy merch, right? Where you can meet Spider-Man on the rooftop. I don't know if you guys noticed on that earlier slide, but that actually is a rooftop on a trade show floor that we created as the Marvel rooftop, right? So we are doing theme park storytelling on a trade show booth floor, which is a very different approach for, as you guys have seen, trade show booths, which are relatively boring and dry in nature, but we're making them more of attractions. So people were like, you had to be there with photo locations like Marvel Zombies that you see on the bottom right there to character meet and greets, as well as all the cast and crew was there meeting people on the floor as well. But we can do that in a themed environment as well too. Let's take you into the real world, right? Let's go down to Las Vegas to the F1 paddock, GPP, right? GPPX, Formula 1X. This is the experience that we have. It's more of an exhibition environment, right? Where we turned the paddock in the Las Vegas F1 track into a permanent exhibit so you can immerse yourself in designing a car, designing a team actually, and projection mapping onto those team cars, and actually in a 40X theater, we can drive your actual creation, right? So we did all the lighting design, all the exhibit design and booth builds for this space, which is really fun, but a lot different, right? This is more of an arcade kind of approach, whereas the Marvel thing is more theatrical, theme parky, right? But again, exhibit style. Now, I showed you guys New York Comic Con, but look what we did for San Diego Comic Con, totally different. We're over here on Yancey Street, right, for all of our Fantastic Four fans. And don't forget here, guys, I had to tie in Canva as a sponsor here. So instead of just blasting Canva, on a bunch of stuff, we said, what does Canva do that's really cool that we can market towards their product line and add value to the Marvel picture and continue to tell that story? So we gave Canva a storefront. You can open the door right here, the Canva print shop right here, and you get to actually customize your own merch using Canva's existing online tools. That way, Canva is elevated in an authentic way, how Canva wants to be elevated, right? And all of our Marvel guests got to get authentic merchandise by Marvel, licensed by Marvel, in the booth, customized with their name on it to their choosing, and everyone really got to win in that. We also have the Tops area, which is for retail, but you guys can see we did this really immersive storytelling thing that's more theme park than it is anything else. But of course, I'm kind of a purist, so I want to make sure that we have those costume gallery in there from the film as well too, giving you everything you need to know in there. Also, little things here, we swapped out all the window displays and all the flags on there every day for Comic-Con. So if you're paying attention, we paid you off with Easter eggs in that booth and made sure that everyone got something that was an evolving story as the days of Comic-Con went on. Now, let's go to the permanent side, the spooky side. Like I kind of started in the pre-discussion, we just finished up Universal's Horror Unleashed, where we fabricated for our friends at Scenario and Universal Destinations Experiences, right? There's a permanent attraction that you guys probably recognize from the Horror Nights type of realm, right? This is 4 mazes in 110,000 square feet of common space, also woven together with epic storytelling, right? Epic scale lighting, audio, video, staging, you name it. It's immersive, 60-foot ceilings, wind control, sound control, right? You guys know in those hot mazes when all those walls bleed sound from the room across the way, we don't have that issue here, right? So there's epic scaled attractions. And with all due respect for those that are of legal age to drink, we have bound this all together with a really cool F&B experience. We've got restaurants, we've got bars, and entertainers all throughout. So this is a common area you're looking at here in this video, but it goes right into the mazes kind of seamlessly. And we could ticket it differently. So it's a new business model, but also too, it's really cool that we could attract a consumer that wants to just enjoy a cocktail and you guys go in the mazes, or you can go all maze crazy, go in the mazes multiple times and really enjoy yourself in Las Vegas for at least the next few years. If not, I think about 20 years longer. So it's a really epic, beautiful show set. And we built, I think 85% of the show set in that building for this attraction that is permanent in Las Vegas. Again, forgive me on the water there. Moving on to something a lot softer, but still in Las Vegas. I want to really kind of attract all of you guys, all of you creators, all of you weirdos that I'm guessing are on the other side of this camera, right? Much softer side for Paul Mitchell Systems. Paul Mitchell, obviously the hair care company. They have 6 different brands underneath their umbrella of brands, right? So our approach to a very, let's call it a dry conference because it wasn't boring. It's interesting. It's about hair care, about 2,000 people at Bellagio, Las Vegas. We said, hey guys, we want to create environments for every single one of your sub brands. So when you go to Hawaii, you have this rich Hawaiian jungle feel. For the galleries, it's very sterile gallery. For Neuro, you've got this cool device driven. For Clear, it feels very clean and clear, right? For the Color Lab, we have all this rich rainbow color, but we created this really cool environmental space where you go room to room by room rather, and you have fully different environments. Look at these tones, guys. It's almost like you're walking into a different section of Sephora at the very least, but hopefully it feels like you're walking into an entirely different story. Like as if you open the storybook and you can step into Paul Mitchell Clear, and it feels this way. It feels contemporary, futuristic. Look at the shapes that we're using, the colorway that we're using. It's all very, very different than each room is structured as, right? So you can see all these different tastes and embodiments of the brand in one space and all the Bellagio space. And of course, conference is also happening around us, but that's how we kind of treated a brand like this in an eventized offering. It's a ticketed offering, so it's not it's not a pop-up or an activation. It is more of an event, right? I'm going to keep fast forwarding here just to keep on our time here, but looking at sports people. If you guys like sports, I certainly don't understand a lot of it, but the Dodgers did win, and I cared very much about that. So I'll be honest. But if you love sports, you probably care about the Oscars of sports, and that's the ESPYs. So Disney has us on for multiple years of producing the ESPYs. Here, we've actually done it for about 3 years in a row now. And it's a challenge because their design guide is always the same commanding design elements. So our team always has to make it look different in the same space, right? We're evolving that same party, that same guest list for 2,000 people to celebrate after the ESPYs, bringing in sponsors in authentic ways, right? And it's very difficult to do that. And this year, we also had the ESPYs Sports Humanitarian Awards that were the night before, where we were raising about $20 million, I believe, for a beautiful foundation that's attached to the ESPYs. And doing something like that is more of a gala type of function, right? So you can see the gamut in which our company comes in as, from doing galas and conference production, which is people in seats and hospitality focused, to pop-ups and activations, all the same, right? Now let's look at a really cool social activation. Those of you little kooks gonna go to Electric Forest out in Michigan might recognize this, or if you guys went, the Vooglam pop-up. So we have an overseas Asian sunglass company that's not well known in America, and they said, guys, we want people to put us on the map, right? And they said, okay, we're gonna sign with Coachella. And I said, great, Coachella is gonna be easy for sunglasses. And then they called me next week and they said, hey, we actually didn't do Coachella. We're gonna go to Electric Forest. I said, oh my gosh, we have to now explain that these are mostly after hours people that are a little bit crazier. And it's at nighttime, so sunglasses utility just went away. And we had to figure out an activation space that felt driven by the brand that people wanted to engage in. So we're giving that invitation to be curious, to create, to touch things, to make noise, to be a fake DJ, to do a playoff, video booth type of thing, and then to wear your sunglasses at night at the neon carnival vibes that we created, guys. We're trying to give people an excuse to wear sunglasses at night. Not necessarily an easy task as a marketing firm, right? But we created a really cool space that celebrated kind of that raver culture without it being inappropriate, still keeping it on brand for a very conservative company. And we still sold over 9,000 pairs of sunglasses at full price during this rave, actually. So I think we did pretty dang good. And our client was very happy to also get, I think it was 14,000 new followers on social media, which is pretty good metrics on this one as well, too. Moving on to something a lot softer, a lot quieter. Things are about partnerships sometimes, guys. And we actually had Tom's Shoes come to us and want to kind of bring a new vibe to their brand while they expanded their audience, right? To go out of like the a little bit older audience that they're trending towards now and get a little bit younger, a little bit hipper, right? Looking at Lala Kind Cafes, if you guys are familiar with the brand, we wanted to bring Tom's in there because my mother would love shopping at Lala Kind for lovely coffee, but also loves her Tom's shoes. And also, too, this is a TikTok favorite, Lala Kind Cafes, right? By bringing Tom's in there for a full takeover for about 2 weekends with a week in between, we're able to show the brand to new clients, new consumers, and say Tom's is back. Tom's is hip. We got a lot more to show, but it's a softer side of our brand and it's a lot more intimate of a function. We're doing a store overlay, but it's still an event or a pop-up nonetheless, right? And our design team still did all this. We did mural graphics. We even designed the cups and the sleeves, right? So a different sensibility in design, a different capacity and scale of design because we're designing lattes, right? Actually, the color of the latte we also had to design as well too to make sure that that blue foam that went on that drink was signature on Tom's. So what goes into event considerations is all very different at times, as well as city permitting, legal signage permitting, PR permitting on this one as well too. Very, very important that you understand all the facets of this. Now let's get totally different on vibes. Let's go into Taco Bell, Live Más Live, baby. If you guys saw this, the first year was in 2024 at the Super Bowl. Taco Bell decided that they want to do an upfronts. And upfronts is where a studio would basically say, what are we doing next year? And this is called Live Más Live. We're announcing the new Taco Bell menu items for Taco Bell International, I believe. At least most of it touches international. So we're able to really play with the brand, with a merch store, with onstage activations, and crazy, crazy stuff. We built a full pop-up cafe in an auditorium. We built a historical lounge that had all the history of Taco Bell in it. We celebrated every moment that you guys have seen this year in Taco Bell. We celebrated on this stage that we also designed. And of course, when the cameras went off for our live streaming event, which you guys may have watched, I don't know if you guys did, but we actually had a secret that screen behind our CEO revealed the sauce bar, which is this really cool thing. You can see it behind there. We're serving this at the live event is here as well too. Serving guests, it's about food and beverage and DJs and performances and movie screenings even, and it's a full-blown event, right? But it was a really exciting time to celebrate Live Más Live in the stupidest of ways, from photo booths that made your ears blow up with smoke to drippy. We had actually beer taps that had all the sauces that you love at Taco Bell, and just really celebrated in the stupidest way. When I say stupid, by the way, guys, it's a compliment. It's my best compliment I can give. Is like, I want to be as dumb as possible when we do events. Like, look at that stupid taco ice luge that we were pouring booze through the whole night. Like, that's ridiculous. It's the stupider the better. We gave away bouquets, guys, that we had a florist actually make into flower arrangements so that you get sauce packets as flowers, and people were like getting fake married with sauce packet bouquets. That is stupid. And the stupider the better, because that gets social media trending and moving, and we love and we embrace stupid here at AKJ. On the very top there, that's that sauce bar. So we had a really cool neon design of these booths and an onstage experience behind the screen. The screen's right below it, actually. And that's just how we really embrace stupid, but in a very professional and corporate way, just the same. Looking at Spotify Now Playing, this is when they introduced all the AI playlist stuff that you guys might be enjoying today. They introduced the karaoke mode as well, too. We also had a live concert at the end of all this as well, too. So Now Playing is a culmination of event logistics, of talent management, where Halsey performed as our finale, and also booth designs. We have all these different vignettes that we're all celebrating the various different new features of Spotify as an app base, right? Takeaways, giveaways, food and beverage. Guys, we even had to take David Chang of Momofuku, amazing chef, amazing restaurant group. We had to actually figure out how we could create their dishes on campus at Spotify's headquarters, which is an absurd challenge because of the nature of his hold times, the nature of the quality of his food. We had to figure out how to actually be David Chang, be Bimo Fuku on the go at an event. Separately, our client here really wanted the Erewhon Hailey Bieber shakes, smoothies on site. So we had to figure out logistics because Erewhon would not make them on property. And we had to figure out how to bring in all these Hailey Bieber smoothies like every 10 minutes to be refreshing them. And so they're fresh and replenished the entire day. So I won't tell you what I spent on Hailey Bieber smoothies at Erewhon, but it's a staggering figure that could buy you a car. So I'll tell you that and leave it there. Immersive entertainment nerds, come on closer because Beetlejuice is here. We had a really cool task of transforming a 22,000 square foot former candy shop at Hollywood and Highland into an experience. And that requires a lot of coordination with the city, with codes, with construction, right? So it's really more of a construction project than it is an exhibit, but this is a partnership with Fever and Warner Brothers to bring the IP to life. We had about 8 weeks to fabricate all this. That sandworm on the right is actually hand sculpted in about a week, actually. So we actually built that in our shop. Every tooth is handcrafted. All the heads are handcrafted, fully built out of foam, and then hard-coated, fireproofed, and brought into life to be this actual sand dune where you can walk into Neptune and actually experience that. Full service subway, teasing all the scenes because the creative process on this is about being inspired by scenes of the film and bring them into a collage that guests can step into. That's a story-driven experience that was sometimes linear and sometimes also open play. Let's look at that map on the top left, guys. We got a linear feature on entrance. So we go from the attic into holding, into immigration, into the experience, and then the experience becomes open board map, right? Kind of like a Disneyland where you can go back 2 places if you want to, and it helps you gauge what's busier. But that linear experience at the start allows us to pulse guests. By pulsing guests, we can control everyone in the rooms and have them come in at a really controlled pace so they can not be queuing for too long, but that's always moving. But we also control people are in the open floor space as well too. So that's a really cool thing that we designed and really thought about in designing that space. Talking about linear experiences, if you guys went to D23, you'll notice the TVA showed up there at 11,000 square foot trade show booth that we loaded in 2 days, live for 3 days, and loaded out in only 1 day. So let's check out that where we go into the TVA that you might recognize from Deadpool, where we had all the time doors. Even we had Rocket Raccoon that was actually talking to you behind one of these time doors. We even had Miss Minutes that we actually recorded with Tara Strong, reanimated with Tara Strong, and did a full Pepper's Ghost effect from Haunted Mansion, but in a portable trade show booth, right? So that's the rendering there. Let's go to the reality. Boom. All fabric walls there look pretty good for fabric, right? And you actually go into some of these more detailed sets. We got to figure out where to spend money and also the weight. Here's our Pepper's Ghost effect where we animated Miss Minutes, authentic audio here. And look at that. We've got big people that walked that booth from Bob Iger to Kevin Feige to Ryan Coogler, who commented on our booth as well, too. So we had some really cool names that were just blown away by the immersion here. Here's Rocket Raccoon for the first time that you could actually talk to in real time. And then Agatha All Along was premiering. So we had the Agatha All Along Witches Road to end the experience there for the TVA, right? So again, you go through a boring trade show booth mentality and introduce a theme park style attraction because that's where stories and experiences collide, right? Disney Junior, target audience is 5 years old to 11 years old, right? This is the same trade show booth at D23, but look at this. It's a play park. We're not overcomplicating it. Too much story, too much explanation. You're on the wrong path. So for different brands of the Walt Disney Company, there's different expressions, right? Because you got to figure out how guests are going to use the space, how they're going to enjoy the space, how they're going to interact with the space. And what we have here that I wish I had a better photo of is, guys, we have a sensory play park for Ariel on Disney Junior. What that means is this, is that if you're of all skill levels, of all disabilities and abilities, right? You can mash tiles, jump on things, press on coral, wave your hands, and sounds come out of the coral reef around you, right? So we created this very accessible space for everybody. So if you're in sensory overwhelm, there's a quiet corner in here. If you want to just make some noise and you want to jump on some stuff, we gave you something here. We gave you a light up dance floor that is impactful, little play areas, because that 5-year-old audience was tough. And guys, it's the only booth at D23 that didn't have a queue for it because we didn't really want to have people wait. It was a play park. Disney Junior is a gathering place for content and character and play to happen, right? So it's a play park. It did a totally different approach than D23 we had to shut the line down every day because it was a 6-hour line, right? This is a very different experience, very different approach. So the same, let's say the same experience, D23 for all guests, you might have very different answers of how to answer the guest challenge of how to entertain them because different brands express themselves very differently. So don't get pigeonholed into take one thought mindset, right? Very important that you guys consider that. Borderlands premiere. This is like a premiere that you would understand from all the press images, but we wanted something that was more tactile, a lot more in-world. So we brought Borderlands to life. Now, I don't care if you like the movie or not. I like the game personally, but you know, whatever. We love our friends at Lionsgate. We had a really cool premiere that had that gritty, nasty stuff. We actually had a fan fest behind there. Guys, we actually had a dunk tank for all the fan fest and celebrities, a dunk tank that was full of fake urine, so we could actually dunk all the bad people in by throwing those grenade bunnies at it. So again, we like to play with stupid things. The dumber the better, because the biggest emotion that you guys can provoke from a guest or a consumer is what? It's make them curious and invite them in, right? If you get them curious and invite them in, then what you can get next is surprise and delight. And that is the tenet of experiential right there. People go home with the emotional experience that they had a great time if you can surprise them and also delight them, right? Because you go, what? And then you pay them off, right? Looking at Barbie premiere after party, voted best premiere in the world. We're so blessed to work with our friends at Warner Brothers directly on this one and produce an in-world after party. And there's one feature I want to call out, guys. I had a 6,000 person hall for only 2,000 guests, big space at the Shrine Auditorium here in Los Angeles. But you notice that big piece of scenic on the back. I needed to make it about 35 feet tall and about 70 feet wide, but we had a budget to adhere to. So that whole thing is an inflatable. When we screened the movie, we actually thought about this. The way we designed parade floats is the same way that we designed this backdrop. And that's, we create this called a postcard look, right? And that postcard look is this collage of various scenes and vistas and iconic moments and places from the movie. So you'll notice you've got the courthouse, you've got that Joshua Tree mountain range, the rainbow, the signature Barbie land on there. You've got, of course, the dream house in the middle, Weird Barbie's house on the right. And then I've got a 4 DJ booth that I was told to be prepared for Dua Lipa to perform at any time that night, while Mark Ronson DJ'd at the very top and 2 other DJs in the bottom, right? And then on the right there, you've got the actual Corvette from the movie that I had to yell at Nicki Minaj to get out of because she was scratching the hood. So that was fun for me, and wasn't really the best moment. But I got to tell you, I had to do it, and I was kind of excited to do it, so I didn't really care. Anyway, premieres are fun. They're crazy. And so I want to show you guys a little bit more about that. So we're going to pull the veil back on Barbie for just a moment, and I want to show you guys how this all happens, right, with my big team. And I'm going to go very fast here, guys, so forgive me. Overview. We always start the overview. This is from inception to screening through all that. Talk about the venue. We do a down plan and render it. And I'm going to get really nitty gritty, but I'm going to go fast again. This is how a premiere comes together, about how all the trades, crafts, vendors, and my teams come together to make sure that all the trucks are loaded and labor is staffed, right? Here's our overview that the client can see, broad details about everything. Now we're going to tear it apart, make it easier to look at. We're going to see general measurements. This is how the fire marshal allows us to actually put on events, because they're going to make sure that we're not going to create paths that are constricting and that kind of thing. Let's go deeper. Here's our carpeting plan. We actually had Ruggable as a sponsor on this one, guys. So I had a ton of area rugs with nothing to do with them. So we did an inversion because we didn't have enough money to carpet the whole space in pink carpet. So I said, guys, invert it. Let's make all the pathways pink and all the typically carpeted areas, islands, let's make them with nothing, no floor. We'll put Ruggable rugs down in those voids. So you'll see we carpeted all the weird areas. We did a flip. We usually would carpet the perimeter underneath all the activations. No, we carpeted just the pathways in pink. So the most noticeable things in photography, see it there, would be seen in pink. And then all the lounges and furniture would have rugs and also furniture underneath them. Here's our draping plan for our draping vendor, showing every linear footage element for audit, for install, make sure we have the right things going, because there's this coordinating a team of 600 people, guys. This is not easy to do. 600 people have to actually touch this project. And so you got to make sure that everyone can just pull out the pages relevant to them and then throw the rest of this deck away and focus on just what we're doing. For Wolfgang Puck, a catering plan showing where the tables are going, what goes on those tables, how many they have, so you can do a linen count back. That's incredibly important. Where do the bars go? The bartenders, how do they orient? How do they face? Because it doesn't serve right. We're not going to be asking celebrities to wait, 20 minutes in line for a cocktail, because this is a celebrity after party, right? Here's our look and feel. We always have to create a mood board. I hope you guys do too. This is our Pinterest board. It also has historical references of what Barbie is as a franchise and film stills that you guys hadn't seen. Some of these film stills are actually completely restricted because that was before the film came out, actually. Now we got 3D renderings that my team makes in D5. We also render in Rhino. So we like to create in Rhino so we can export directly back out to AutoCAD for our shop drawings and plans. And then we like to add lighting effects in D5 that make it very realistic. Now we also work with movie archives, like a Beetlejuice. I had the Maitland model, which is the attic model of Beetlejuice Town, if you will, right from the first film. That was $250,000 of insurance from Warner Brothers Gallery, or from their archive, right? just like these costumes are all original from film. These are all worn, screen used costumes from Warner Brothers. So we have to actually make sure that the archive knows that we're going to put these on different things so we can have insurance and also security guards watching over the original costuming because it's insured for so much money. So all these different things exist because it serves a logistical purpose. Now here's our inflatable, guys. It's all inflatable except for the light posts I wanted real because they're starting to get into guest areas. The grass is real. The little flamingo seating because it's cheap. I can get it real nice and cheap. We borrowed the car, real DJ booth. But that's how you get that flowing composition of that cheap old inflatable. It wasn't cheap, by the way. It was huge. But you could actually stand inside of it. It's about 20 feet deep, about 30 feet tall, 70 feet wide. So it's a huge inflatable, right? But it costs much less money than fabricating this set that had to be engineered or permitted and constructed for days. But this baby went up in a half hour. So really good stuff on how you actually bring this up. And it folds down to be less than a pallet of size. So it's really impressive how we can leverage a weird idea to use inflatables in a very actionable way. So here's Barbie Land and Render using the actual furniture, looking at our sponsors on the perimeter with sponsor lounges. We had OPI nails. Instead of doing OPI nails as a sponsor, just logo plastered, we did an OPI nail salon where you could actually get your nails done at the after party for free, which is very fun. That bee was spinning, of course. You have to. Cheap metallic perimeter because we love one phrase we love is cheap and cheerful, right? When you run out of money, but you got to kind of do something that's cheap and cheerful, right? So here's our big inflatable. Here's our inflatable at scale, right? You can see that as well too. Just showing different views. There's our OPI lounge, photo moments on the perimeter, Barbie closet, of course, all the assets for graphic design for print, so that way our client can preview those print files. All of our stupid photo moments. Remember those transitional scenes, guys? These are so dumb. Look how dumb these are. It's my favorite. This one also, Nicki Minaj and I did not get along that night. We were taking photos in this before the screening ended. And Nicki Minaj was our first guest ever. She had 6 feet of hair and she wanted to be on this rocket, but I had my team on there being idiots with the rocket. And she just glared at me and just scoffed and walked by. So we get to brush with celebrities and fun moments all the same. So that was fun. Weird Barbies thing. This is also this is all Amazon purchase stuff. We actually custom sewed the skirt ourselves to get Weird Barbie's leg split. We did a fake mirror effect at the ground, so it looked like she was actually doing the splits, and you could just stand behind this stupid skirt and pose in Weird Barbie's house. Again, stupid. Keep it stupid. Keep guests laughing, especially you look at the news, guys. I mean, or don't. Please don't look at the news. But the point is that make guests smile. That's what we all need. We want to go to these events to escape and really find out what we're doing, right? Through the lens of our guests by just having fun, being playful, right? Things that we did do here, making, of course, Kendom, that stupid vignette, right? And then Xbox actually have a great video of Margot Robbie driving off-road in the Barbie car in Xbox with her parents right behind her at the premiere. So really celebrating these brand moments. And for Xbox and Microsoft, they said, you guys killed it. I said, we didn't kill it. We just thought about how to utilize Xbox instead of just putting your logo on stuff for Forza Motorsport in a way that was playful and inviting for Margot Robbie to want to sit her butt down in the gaming chair and play during the after party genuinely, right? Again, Kendom, this is ridiculous, guys. It just is ridiculous. We made a little Ken living room. Actually, that horse photo is still in my VP of Ops office because we like to keep some stuff in very dumb ways. But you can see all of our prop purchases are all identified here. And again, you guys get the idea. I won't bug you too much about this, but this is how you create a full premiere and get really detailed about what's owed to that premiere and making sure that everything is showing up genuinely using assets. Even restroom signage is important, but that's how we built the Barbie premiere. All right. We're approaching about 5 minutes out from wanting to do some Q&A here, but I just want to show you guys a couple more things before we get into that. But, you know, building droids for Disneyland Park. We actually build full animatronics that conduct the fireworks show. We build photo locations that live for about 3 months outdoors at parks as well, too. So these celebrate movie IPs. So these are different expressions of our brand and company. I also made the world's smallest Greek wedding chapel during the writer's strike, where we couldn't do premieres for movies for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. And we got a couple married on this on the Today Show. So it's a pallet-sized Greek chapel that we put into Rockefeller Center. So again, guys, we love stupid things and theme park shows, other theme park shows that tour on Broadway as well, too. Pop-up stores for Kim Kardashian that are on Rodeo Drive. That facade is actually floating in front of the building because we went on an event permit for a pop-up store on Rodeo Drive to not have to do permanent construction. So there's an awful lot of expressions of themed entertainment, but all of this, guys, through our lens, is all story driven. You can see here a lot of it's realistic, some of it's very dreamy, some of it's very functional, but it's all pretty stupid and it's all very story driven. Sarah, I want to turn it over to you because I think we probably generated a lot of Q&A here throughout all the textures. And if I run out of Q&A, guys, I do have a case study exercise that I could show you as well too. So we got plenty to talk about and not enough time to do it. Sarah?
Amazing. Austin, thank you so much for walking us through all of those incredible case studies. I love that basically you all are in the business of being playful. Love the tagline, the unofficial tagline of keep it stupid, make guests smile. I think that's absolutely delightful. We haven't actually received any questions yet through our Q&As, but I do want to remind folks that you can. So please feel free, Austin, if you want to walk us through that other case study, to please go ahead and do so.
Awesome. Now, first of all, I want to just recognize, guys, that I am an overwhelming presenter because we do a lot, but don't be freaked out to ask questions. No question is stupid. Ask starter questions, career questions, or even process questions or about stuff. I don't know if I can answer all of them, but we'll get there. So let me spend 5 minutes here, Sarah, on this case study because, guys, y'all might be doing thesis work coming up, or maybe right now where it's hypothetical work, but we have to do that to audition for projects. So when Marvel hired us as their agency of record for cons, we had to do an exercise first because Kevin Feige wanted to see the AK Johnston treatment. That's a quote that was given to me. They said, Austin, Kevin Feige said, I want the AK Johnston treatment, which by the way, freaked me out because Kevin Feige said that. And second of all, I was ready to go because Kevin Feige said that. So in 2024, they said, design the Marvel booth for 2018. And so we did. So we talked about the overview of the Marvel booth at Comic-Con, stepped into their actual booth design, created a schematic for that. This is about how we go from concept, guys, into a pitch, okay? We got our look and feel about things that are relevant in 2018, as well as kind of our approach for different features. So like that newsstand for Espolón, that's a tequila example, right? But we liked that feel of a newsstand in our booth to show the new Spider-Man game that was coming out in 2018, right? Notice the content pillars. Black Panther was coming out in 2018, right? So we're really focusing on Black Panther with that. But how do we do that in a playful way? But here's our first elevation here, guys. Marvel Hero LED wall. That way you can just pose for that big Marvel logo, right? You got the entry tunnel there that celebrates character. But then you'll notice there's two elements here that I haven't talked about yet that are the most impactful because they're most dedicated to the Walt Disney's company efforts, right? You guys see that overlook pathway on top? That's the exact same railing that you see in Avengers Campus now, but in 2018, Avengers Campus was not built yet. So what we want to do is tease how they were going to introduce characters and character storytelling from the soon-to-be opened Avengers Campus at Disneyland Park, or sorry, California Adventure here in California, as well as Disneyland Paris, right? By introducing characters on that overlook patio to do some of that teaser of what the company was also doing. Now, where that Spider-Man is located there in that middle there, that is called an XR volume stage. And XR volumes had not yet been seen because, guys, The Mandalorian had not yet premiered. And XR volumes, which is a camera tracking system for LED space, right? And that's how they shot The Mandalorian, was the new way of film storytelling. But that was being built in 2017, premiering in 2018, but no one had seen it yet, right? So we're teasing these different Walt Disney Company efforts and initiatives and showing them in real space because we thought it was most relevant to storytelling within the Walt Disney Company's lens, but through the Marvel characters and spaces, right? Here's your back elevation to just show you that really cool, like, oh my gosh, that's the scale and magnitude of it. Now let's go to an ISO. You can see how that Marvel logo rolls over. You can pose in front of it, take selfies. That really is good for our clients' PR initiatives. In this character tunnel, because I don't know if you guys are anybody as old as me, everybody's the over 35 crowd maybe, want to see that old X-Men 97 maybe, the newer X-Men 97, but back to my childhood, the older X-Men stuff and comic book, page-turn comic books. We want to give it that old New York brick look. So we walk through this, maybe it's a sewer tunnel, but it's a little more modern, but it celebrates old and new characters and these character stripes, color block down that tunnel that leads out the other way, but it feels gritty and tactile, right? Now we'll go to our hero angle where you have meet and greet stage as well as panelists. We have to do all that stuff as well as a posing area for Black Panther. All these features throughout that space. You can see it all called out. Again, Black Panther heavy because that's our big IP tentpole that year. That's why we focus on that. We thought about the synergy with the theme parks. So this in-park photo moment as the throne that can start in the booth and then later be relocated to a theme park, right? So being really holistic to the company and client, really reacting to their needs and also anticipating the client's needs by being suggestive in nature for saying, hey, Disney, did you think about this, right? So we've done that within these different considerations. Finally, our digital offshoot, we've got our Spider-Man gaming area that has gaming stations. Again, feels very New York Street on that side. Look at down plan here to see the space, all that good stuff. And that's how we really designed the Marvel booth. Adjacent to that, we have our actual merch area, which had to do a little 20 by 40 foot booth. It's an extension of that. We got rid of any carpet use. We're using the concrete to make it like a gritty newsstand on the corner. See that newsstand, kind of a fun, authentic street kind of scene. And then instead of doing flooring, we actually have stickers that look like manhole covers or newspapers on the ground, just for a fun little wayfinder, just to tease you with these little Easter eggs that you can look throughout. And news headlines had different teasers of new characters coming out. And if you guys go to any trade show booth of mine or any attraction I built at Disneyland Park, I always have Easter eggs that are hidden through there. So they're both Disney and our own creations, but they're very, very fun. So again, a boring merch vending point turned into an in-story thing that's adjacent and across from our main booth. And that's how we concept Marvel 2018 in 2024. More of a creative process down funnel on that one. Sarah, do we have anything we want to gonna go over? Again, guys,
Amazing.
overwhelming.
Yes, we have gotten a couple of questions. The first is from Anastasia, who says, so cool. This sounds amazing and yet a still niche area. So I wanted to ask how to either transition into this industry or start a career in LBE, which is location-based entertainment, if anyone was wondering.
Of course.
Austin, do you have any advice there for starting out a career in this type of world?
I definitely wish I had more of a landed response to you, but like I was saying earlier, it's about kind of getting exposure to it. It's a really tough world to break into because a lot of people want it. A lot of it's very cool. It's very everyone's really kind of talking about it right now. But I think it's more about figuring out what that niche is going to be. Because I always want to come back to theme park. That was always my goal when I was a kid. I want to do that, right? The way I did it, guys, I started a lighting company, right? Because lighting in events was a way to step into that. And I started fabricating for events. And these eventized offerings turned into photo locations. Those photo locations went into theme parks. The theme parks wanted to get more LBE based. And that's how I started doing what I'm doing, right? We have internship programs. That's a great way to start. Start an internship program anywhere you can. Universal Creative, Disney Imagineering, live entertainment, right? They're very, very open to those internships, and we all do a lot of seasons of that. Those are great ways to get started in that. But I think the biggest way to get started in any career in this industry is to not have an ego and to take feedback. I know that sounds so basic and you're maybe rolling your eyes. Maybe your parents have told you that as well too. But I got to tell you, not having an ego and taking that feedback and really taking ownership over that is so critical because you don't know everything. And if you do know everything, tomorrow you'll be invalidated by the new stuff coming out, right? There's so much movement in AI, so much movement in digital spaces, but really just get weird with it, play with different color palettes, and maybe start in trade show because that has more churn to it. When I say churn, I mean it's always going to be turning over, but it's turning over with new work and more work. It's just churning, right? And that's why I was showing some trade show case studies because trade show and event case studies are more accessible than LBE. LBE is crazy expensive. Media entertainment right now, guys, they're decimated. They're wiped out. That market is really messed up for us right now, and it's really a struggle for us to succeed in that. But I'll say we're still busy, but we're established, right? So just really get your beaks wet on doing a really cool photo location for a bar mitzvah. I don't care. I started out doing weddings at country clubs and built it into we're now a Walt Disney Imagineering vendor.
Love that. Great advice. We have another question here from Brennan who asks if we could like zoom out a little bit. What is the difference between a pop-up and an activation? First part of his question. And then second part, what can someone do when applying to show that they have the keeping it stupid mentality in their portfolio if they have graphic design and photography skills? Also, X-Men 97 rocks.
I love it. Well, I'm going to give you a quick example because I can jog to that screen. But you know what Marvel said the most that caught their eye the most about this deck, and it wasn't the creative 3D rendering as your graphic designer? See how we did 2018 with Deadpool graffiti? That was it. That was it. That's a graphic design play. That had nothing to do with the design of the space. It had to do with our amazing resume of things that we've done, right? It had to do with the fact that we said, y'all were teasing Deadpool and we want to tease it back to the consumer. So we crossed out 2024 and made it a Deadpool graffiti moment. That's how you create that playfulness out of something so simple as putting a title on a slide deck right there, right? That's a good moment there. What was the first question? Sorry, there was a first two chapter of that, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
The first part was, what's the difference between a pop-up and activation?
There we go. Super hard to delineate, guys. It's easier to say an activation versus an event, right? So I'm going to start there. An event, in my opinion, because somebody's going to argue against me and they're going to be right, right? An event has a start and finish time and typically a structured program. That structured program, like a short story or a play or a movie, has a rising action. It has a height of action, and it's got a falling action, a denouement, and a conclusion, right? It's got some kind of a story-driven, linear experience to it, right? An activation or a pop-up, right? And activation, in my opinion, is going to be when you're activating a brand, right? So we can say that we're going to activate American Express at Coachella. What does that mean? It's just a credit card, right? But when you activate that brand, you're activating what it stands for. In my opinion, being an American Express card holder, American Express stands for an elite approach to hospitality, to access, to exclusivity, but also playfulness and fun and inclusivity, right? So Amex's spaces at a Coachella are bright in color, but they're always blue heavy because MX's colors are blue, or also focused on mirror or black. You look at these kind of things, it's this mirrored card, right? You use heavy mirrors and heavy blues, right? That's how you activate a brand in physical space, by using those textures that call back to that brand at every component. A pop-up arguably is the same dang thing, right? I would say that a pop-up might end with the word pop-up store, right? So if we want to go to pop-up store, I would say that our YSL Beauty gas station at Coachella, which is a very successful case study, arguably the reason why I got put on the map at all as a full agency, is a great version of that. And that is both an activation and it's a pop-up. And I'll show you why. We have an activation in the front there because you pull over on the 111 and you can take pictures in front of that giant lipstick tube, which is a 32-foot tall lipstick tube on the side of the 111. And you pull over. You've got buses and vintage cars. You got a sea of a full field of these inflatable hearts from the YSL Beauty campaign. Gas pumps you can hold on to and take cute little photos of, right? That's the activated version of YSL as an activated brand. Here, music, beauty stations, it's activated, right? But the pop-up is that C-store in the back. And that is the most successful pop-up store in the history of L'Oreal internationally ever. We sold more product in 3 days, and we didn't even advertise this event happening. It just popped up as a surprise, and people just flocked to it because it just grew like wildfire on social media. But it's activated. So if Sarah doesn't want to buy anything, or I don't want to buy anything product-wise, I could be in the activation component of it, which is where we take photos and interact with the brand because we've activated the brand. And the pop-up is where we can actually go to a momentary experience and engage with the commercial value of what the brand offers, which is buying lipstick, buying foundation, buying something, right? That's what a pop-up store would get you.
Great answer. Thank you for that, Austin. We've got a question from Kennedy. Also, hi, Kennedy. You brought up San Antonio as a strategic location. Is there anything specific to that city that makes it a sought-out spot for events and experiences? Any examples or comparisons to other locations?
That's a trick question because I want to give you the answer that you want, but I'm not going to. Texas is a great market. You've got Dallas, Austin, Houston, and San Antonio are great cities for activations. Demographically, they're strong for a lot of our clients that work in entertainment, has good battleground markets. Honestly, you know what it is? It's cheaper rent. It's a little bit less cost on labor. And it's a great trucking route because it's evergreen. So most days of the year I can drive through Texas and I can go up to Chicago. I can go over to Florida. I can go over to Florida and up to New York all year round. So it's a logistical hub and a reasonable business opportunity to be printing large graphics, to be sending out trucking, to be storing things, storing trailers and semi trucks. So a lot of our business looks very sexy. I realize that. But a lot of our businesses still has a backbone of logistics and also needs to make money because we don't get to do this cool work unless the company can sustain itself. And quite honestly, guys, there's a lot of opportunities for us to go out of business with how the entertainment world works. It's very, very tough to make money and also do cool stuff. And unfortunately, that leads me to making logistic decisions like having a Texas hub that just makes logistical sense.
That's a great answer. I appreciate the pragmatic context behind it.
Sorry to try it out.
No, it's all good. I think this audience would also be curious to know, could you go over, Austin, a little bit of those like key event management related skills that make someone in this field successful over another? Maybe some soft skills that folks who might be in high school, might be, very early career, interested in this kind of world, what would make them stand out over someone else in this kind of role?
Definitely. So I think that's a great question because if you are afraid that what you're offering the world is too niche, this world is not too niche. If you're a floral designer, an art director, a prop person, you are obsessed with food or beverage or anything like that, it is so important that you really find that niche and celebrate what that is, but try to expand upon that. I've got lovely partners in New York City. It's called Pinch Food Design. If you guys haven't seen them, Pinch is amazing. There are these two females run the business and they're caterers at the core of it. But if you look at their stuff, they are anything but caterers. They're like florists, furniture designers, storytellers that can turn pretzels into a full experience at an event, right? So I just want to challenge you that if you want to get into events, every niche is great. If you're a bossy stage manager that is just bossy, 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 go be you. Go be your stage manager self, and you're going to run those runs of show. You're going to be an event producer. You're going to be a production manager that is going to freaking kill it on that radio, right? I will tell you that. But if you're an artiste, if you're a dreamer, if you're in the clouds type person, there is also space for you too. But you've got to be able in any of these jobs to roll up your sleeves, swallow your pride. And again, I'm going to say it for the third dang time. Don't have an ego and take feedback. Embrace that feedback. Because if you don't, the feedback you're going to get is going to be nothing. It'll just be quiet. You'll be very lonely and have a lot of time on your hands. And time on your hands isn't necessarily good, right? You want to be sought after and in demand. So I just want to tell you guys in summary, if you're too niche, celebrate that niche. If you think you're too weird, you're not, right? Just get weirder. I promise you. I'm definitely the weirdest person on my team. I promise you that by a long shot. And my skill set, guys, by the way, that I bring to the table is that I'm not great at anything in my company, but I'm really good at all of it. And that's a unique trait of me, right? That's why I run the business, right? I've got a good vision for it. I know how to speak to it. I can kind of address anything. I can talk about lighting and technical things and codes and all this other good stuff, right? But I'm a terrible lighting designer. I'm an awful, awful palate from tasting food. You know what I mean? I'm an awful bartender, right? But I figured out what I'm very good at, and that's managing this business because I understand all of it and I'm very good at it, right? I'm very, very good at my job, but I'm not great at any part of our job. Is that helpful?
I think that goes back to one of your very first points, which was find like-minded people with differing talents, right? Create that team if you want to go far. So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up today's session. Austin, I want to thank you again so much for being part of our speaker series and letting us into your crazy fun world of activations, pop-ups, theme designs, and builds. It's been a lot of fun peeling back the layers of all of these fun experiences. Folks, I just want to remind you too that we have another speaker series in 1 week from now on Wednesday, November 12th, specifically as it relates to preparing for careers in festivals and major events. So a little spin-off of our topic here today. So if you're interested in that, please make sure to visit our website, register for that event as well. But looking forward to seeing you at the next one. And Austin, thank you again so much for all of your wisdom.
Thank you all so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.